Everyone, Ted Wyman here with another edition of Jet Setting playoff version. The Winnipeg Jets are in an 0-2 hole against the Montreal Canadiens after losing 1-0 on Friday night at Bell MTS Place. Now they have to go back to Montreal for games on Sunday and Monday, and are obviously facing the prospect of a very long uphill climb to try to get back into this series, and they're going to have to do it without Mark Scheifele, who was suspended. They don't know if they're going to have Paul Stastny back. He was injured for the first two games. Dylan DeMello's out. It's a different looking lineup. They're trying to adjust. And it was very, very difficult to find any space against the Montreal Canadiens on Friday night to try to get any goals. And then, of course, Montreal has this guy named Carey Price. I'm joined here by Scott Billeck of the Winnipeg Sun to discuss just how this could work for the Jets. I know, Scott, that you didn't really agree with Blake Wheeler and Andrew Kopp and Nikolai Ehlers and Paul Maurice that the Jets were better on Friday night than they were the other night. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, part of my disagreement comes from the fact that, okay, so here's the thing. They played a better defensive game 5-on-5, sure. They didn't give up anything 5-on-5. My issue with the game is, the game's better, but you don't score a goal. So that's the first thing. It's like, well, can't win a game if you don't score a goal. Secondly is, despite being a little bit better defensively, there were still these odd man rushes, right? I mean, you're giving up these odd man rushes, and it's not. You're leaning on Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck played a heck of a game last night. Let's not take anything away from what Carey Price did. But at the other end, it's not like Connor Hellebuyck did anything wrong. I mean, the only goal that's scored on him is a shorthanded goal where Kyle Connor does a flyby, and it unsettles Josh Morrissey, who's already kind of going down to try and block the shot because he knows it's coming. And, Tyler Toffoli toe drags around the challenge or the flyby, really, of Kyle Connor, and then rips a wrist shot past Connor Hellebuyck. Everything kind of gets unsettled on that play because of Connor doesn't go and make an actual play on Toffoli. He just kind of flew by and tried to put his stick, and it didn't do anything. So my issue with the game is just like, the zone exits weren't there. The zone entries weren't there. There was a lot of dump and chase in that game. And I think that's part of the thing. So it's like, okay, did you not allow an even strength goal? Sure. You didn't score one either. Your power play didn't look very good. And that's probably putting it nicely. You're still letting the odd man rushes go, and you're giving Eric Staal a breakaway past Josh Morrissey with 10 seconds to go in the second period. That's just a lapse in where you are. It's not very good in terms of situational awareness, especially in the playoffs. So sure, I mean, you can try and sell hope here. The problem is this Jets team needs to find offense. They need to find a better way through the trap game that Montreal is playing. And so these are the realities right now. You can try, like I said, you can try and sell the hope that your game is getting there, but the crux, or it's all coming to a head, right? Game 3 has to be won by the Winnipeg Jets. It's a must win. I think if they can win game 3, they can easily win game 4 and come back here 2-2. You're playing a back-to-back against a team who's played a lot of hockey recently. If the Jets are finally starting to find their stride, like they said, then you win game 3, and I think you take that right into game 4, and you start pounding it down, the throat of Montreal to even up the series and bring it back to Winnipeg. The only thing that they need to do is do the things that they didn't do in last night's game: find offense and score goals. And so that's going to be the real crux of all of it when they play that game. They got to figure it out. And we'll talk about, I'm sure, about the looming, the pending maybe return of Paul Stastny. But we could see it last night, and I think we both could maybe agree that a lot of the forward lines and they just weren't working. Pierre Wall wasn't going. Andrew Kopp, it just wasn't working with him and Nikolai Ehlers. So, I think Paul Stastny is an integral part to playing without Mark Scheifele, and they really need him back.
Yeah, including on the power play. But, you touched on it a little bit, but you have to give some credit where credit is due here. And the Montreal Canadiens are the reason why the Winnipeg Jets can't do anything with the zone entries. Yep. And they're the reason why the Winnipeg Jets are having trouble getting out of their own zone. We can talk to a blue in the face and we can ask the questions of the Jets. How do you do it? Well, if they knew, they'd be doing it. The problem
Yeah.
is the Montreal Canadiens have an incredibly strong, aggressive style of tight checking. They're very good with their sticks. Now, I've said this before. When you see the Jets getting flummoxed like they were last night, it always goes back in my mind to the way the Vegas Golden Knights played them in 2018. The Jets were a very, very good team. I think the better team than the Vegas Golden Knights, but the Golden Knights never let them get any passes across. They didn't let them get a full amount of wood on the shots. And of course, if they did get the shots off after all that work, then Marc-Andre Fleury was in net with a
Yeah.
955 save percentage. And here you've got Carey Price, who he just made everything look easy last night. Now, that's partly because the shots weren't that high quality, but even when they were, when the Jets were pressing in the third period, Price just was swallowing everything up. And, it's unfortunate for the Jets that they're running into that guy at this point, because he is playoff Carey Price right now, and that's making things very, very difficult.
Yeah, and I think the problem too, though, is you're letting Carey Price off the hook a little bit as well. Because yes, here's the thing: Carey Price sees the puck, makes the save. Carey Price doesn't see the puck; he still makes the save oftentimes because, like Hellebuck, very sound positionally, right? So you have a guy who just knows where to be, and some of the times where the Jets created a bit of chaos in front of him, where he probably didn't see as much of the puck as he would have liked, he was still in good position. And the problem was there was very few second and third chances last night for the Jets. Carey Price wasn't, absorbing every puck. There was some that, would squirt out left, right, wherever. There was nobody there to try and pounce on those rebounds to create more chaos. Just not enough kind of forechecking, not enough pressure, not enough crashing the net in that game. And it just you're letting you need to make it harder on Carey Price. And let's again, the other team is playing as well. Ben Sherratt, Shea Weber, fantastic pairing. They're playing half the game. They do a great job at neutralizing. I thought Joel Edmondson had a great game last night. I think they're doing the best that they can, and it's working at neutralizing anything after that first shot, and really they're keeping the lanes as clear as they can. I thought Winnipeg's shot selection last night was almost it was a bit silly at times because they would gain the zone like Winnipeg, and I said this, I think I tweeted this after the game. And the problem with the Jets in their chances last night, their best chances ever, and that didn't actually turn into chances because they didn't get the shot off. But when they were moving in, they would make this extra play often that didn't need to be made. You're trying to make it as easy as you can to score a goal. I get it. You're trying to beat one of the world's best goaltenders, but at the same time, you have to deal with the shot that's given to you. And the Jets, there was times last night, Christian Vesalainen and Kyle Connor had a great chance, but tried to make a nice, a fancy little pass. And Nikolai did it once as well. Those are the shots. It's just that third pass that they're trying to make could probably be a better shot, and they just need to start doing that. You have to get back to this simple mentality, and the Jets have been reminded of this, especially during their their 7-game losing streak. They lost 9 of 12 going into the playoffs. There was an element of getting out of that slump was keeping it more simple again. And I think the Jets need to get back to that. They're trying to create too much, and they're over committing to some of these plays, and it's just not really working for them. And then some of these plays where they create a decent opening, a gap, somewhere they could take a shot, they're trying to make it a third pass, and then just all kind of falls apart because Montreal is able to catch up or read the play better or whatever it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
the Jets just need to do more to try and beat Carey Price because he's very difficult to beat right now. But to beat him, more pucks on goal and then crashing that net as much as you can to try and get those second and third chance opportunities.
Yeah, I agree with you, Scott. The only part of that you wonder about is you see Christian Vesalainen come in with a bit of a chance, and he tries to go high on Carey Price, and I mean it was just the easy, flashy
Sure.
glove save from Carey Price, and you think maybe Kyle Connor and Nikolai Ehlers are thinking, well, you're not going to beat him, so you
Yeah.
have to make that extra play if you want any chance of beating him. That's the only thing I was thinking about. But the Jets' strategy, I think, right now and I think it has been through this series, is that eventually they're going to wear down Shea Weber, Ben Sherratt, Joel Edmondson, and Jeff Petrie. Those guys are playing almost all of the game. The third pairing rarely plays at all. It's basically a 4 defense situation. Now the Habs have played a bunch of games now,
Yeah.
and it's now 3 games in 4 nights back to back. You nailed it. This is the time when the Winnipeg Jets have to make it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of obvious, because if they don't make it happen, they're going to be out of the
Right.
playoffs by Monday night. But they really, they have to take advantage of this situation. This is their chance. Montreal obviously is going to have some fans in the building. They're going to have some real energy being at home. But the Jets, at least the one thing that's true about what they said last night is they didn't get hammered. They were definitely in that game. They were 1 shot away from tying it and perhaps having a chance to get the winner at some point. So there is a positive in that.
Yeah, I just think that this is playoff hockey. You're always 1 shot away from something, right? Whether it's tying up a game, leading a game, if it goes to overtime, winning that game. The Jets just need to be on the right side of that then. And, here's the thing, like, credit to Montreal. They played a sound defensive game after that goal. They really clogged up the neutral zone. The Jets did a lot of dumping and chasing in that game. They neutralized any speed, any whatever that the Jets had through the neutral zone. There's some changes need to be made, I think, going into this game to try and correct that. Obviously, having Paul Stastny back would be a huge boon for this team. It kind of gets you back to kind of some of your old faithful lines that you can run with. But yeah, I mean, it is a game where you're going into it, and sure, if they think that they've kind of gotten to this point, I don't think that they've made the game as hard as it needs to be to tire out Montreal. That's probably the one thing that negates this whole, if you can kind of get them to a point where they're starting to get tired and that sort of thing, fair enough. But I mean, did you think that Shea Weber looked tired last night, or Ben Sherratt? Like, I don't think so.
No.
I'm not seeing fatigue yet in the Montreal Canadiens, and I think part of that is the Jets just aren't taking it to them enough to tire these guys out. I think that the Canadiens are on a bit of a knife edge with that, and if you could do that, you could tip them over onto a bad side in terms of that. But again, it's going to take that effort from the Jets to actually tire out Montreal. That's what they really need to do, and right now I haven't seen that. If they can do it in game 3, like I said, I think they have a very good chance of taking game 3 and going into game 4, knowing that, yes, I mean, this team has played now 4 games in 6 nights, 3 and 4. When it comes to Monday, I think you can really feed off of the confidence that you'll get from winning game 3, right? It kind of changes the complexion of the series. It puts doubt into Montreal's mind that they can go out and win game 4. And then if you get back to 2-2, which we saw in 2018-19 with St. Louis, the Jets dropped the first 2 games in that series at home, went into St. Louis and won both of those games, tied up the series, and they obviously went on to lose that series in 6. But the point is,
the Stanley Cup champions.
True. But here's the thing, like, the Jets have that. Most of these guys are on this team still, played in that series. They know what it takes. They know what it's like to be down. I guess this is kind of the one silver lining the Jets have. They've been here before, and they believe that, having done it, having pulled back even in a series, they believe now that they can do that again. So that's the thing. I didn't think you saw a lot of outward worry on the Jets last night. I think the Zoom calls after the game were very composed. Part of that is obviously, not trying to, but I do think that, they can build off of that experience, or at least lean on it from that series going into these 2 games in Montreal. And let's not forget, the Jets were a much better road team this year than they were a home team.
Sure.
I think that partly plays into their hand as well. But at the same time, you're going to have to win 1 at home if you want to win this series. So again, but the first things first, they got to win game 3, and then they're going to really have to win game 4 after that too, and then try and turn this series into a best of 3, and then figure out how to win 2 more after that.
Well, You're saying there's a chance, and there's no doubt
There's
about
always
that.
a chance.
The Jets are still a good team. They have depth. They're missing some very key players, but they've just got to rely on what got them to this point, and that's having a good depth team. So, Scott, thanks very much for that excellent analysis. We will be back to talk more as the series goes along. For Scott Billeck, I'm Ted Wyman. You've been watching Jet Setting.